Rewriting your pain-pleasure operating system. This shift happens when you understand that your brain's pain-pleasure system has been hijacked by modern life. The choices that feel good in the moment are usually the ones that create pain later. Hitting snooze feels better than getting up early, but it creates the pain of rushing through your morning and feeling behind all day. Scrolling your phone feels better than working on your goals, but it creates the pain of another day without progress. Eating junk food feels better than preparing healthy meals, but it creates the pain of low energy and poor health. Every easy choice you make today becomes a hard consequence you face tomorrow. Your brain evolved to seek immediate pleasure and avoid immediate pain because that's what kept humans alive thousands of years ago. If you found food, you ate it immediately because you didn't know when you'd find more. If you felt tired, you rested because exhaustion could mean death. If something felt uncomfortable, you avoided it because discomfort often meant danger. These responses served our ancestors well in a world of scarcity and constant threats. But now, you live in a world of abundance, where immediate pleasures are everywhere and most discomfort isn't dangerous. Your ancient brain still operates on the old programming, constantly pushing you toward instant gratification and away from anything that feels challenging. Social media gives you instant dopamine hits. Fast food satisfies your cravings immediately. Streaming services provide instant entertainment. Your brain gets hijacked by these modern pleasures and loses sight of long-term consequences. This creates a massive problem for goal achievement. Every goal worth pursuing requires you to choose temporary discomfort for long-term benefit. Building a business means working long hours now for financial freedom later. Getting fit means exercising when you don't feel like it for health and confidence later. Learning new skills means struggling through confusion and mistakes now for expertise later. Your brain's default programming works against every meaningful goal you could set. 2025 research on delayed gratification shows that the ability to choose important tasks over immediate pleasures is the single strongest predictor of long-term success. People who can delay gratification earn more money, have better relationships, enjoy better health, and report higher life satisfaction than people who prioritize immediate pleasure. Self-determination theory reveals that intrinsic motivation, where behavior aligns with your personal values and identity, creates more sustainable change than external rewards or pressure. When you connect difficult actions to your deeper sense of purpose, the discomfort becomes meaningful rather than pointless. But here's what most people miss about delayed gratification. It's not about willpower or self-control. It's about rewiring your pain-pleasure associations so that taking action toward your goals feels good and avoiding action feels bad. You need to flip the script on how your brain evaluates immediate versus delayed consequences. The looking forward technique from motivational interviewing research provides a concrete way to make abstract long-term consequences feel immediate and real. Instead of thinking vaguely about how you'll feel if you don't achieve your goal, you create a specific mental picture of yourself 1 year from now having made no progress. Visualize the exact conversation you'll have with yourself. What excuses will you be making? What opportunities will you have missed? What will your daily routine look like? The key is making the visualization specific and personal. Your brain responds to concrete details, not abstract concepts. This technique works because it activates the same neural pathways that respond to immediate threats, making future consequences feel present and urgent. When you can clearly see the pain of staying stuck, your brain naturally wants to avoid that pain by taking action today. But you have to be careful not to fall into the vision board trap. Research shows that visualizing positive outcomes can backfire by prematurely activating reward circuits, giving your brain a dopamine hit that reduces motivation to do the actual work. At the same time, you need to associate immediate pleasure with difficult tasks, instead of seeing them as pure sacrifice. This doesn't mean lying to yourself about difficulty. It means finding genuine sources of satisfaction within challenging activities. When you exercise, focus on how good your body feels when you move, rather than how tired you are. When you work on your business, focus on the excitement of building something, rather than the stress of the workload. When you eat healthy food, focus on how energized you feel, rather than what you're giving up. This mental reframing transforms discomfort from a signal to stop into a signal that you're growing. Most people experience resistance and think something is wrong. You're going to train yourself to experience resistance and think something is right. Discomfort becomes evidence that you're doing something important, something that will make you stronger, something that separates you from people who choose comfort over growth. Every time you choose a small, uncomfortable action over a comfortable one, you build your capacity to handle bigger challenges. Every time you get up when you don't want to, every time you work when you'd rather relax, every time you eat healthy when you crave junk food, you're depositing resilience into your mental bank account. These small daily challenges create the strength to handle major obstacles when they appear. Instead of seeing exercise as punishment for eating too much, see it as investing in your future energy and confidence. Instead of seeing healthy eating as deprivation, see it as fueling your body for peak performance. Instead of seeing work as something you have to do, see it as building the life you want to live. Instead of seeing learning as boring or difficult, see it as gaining capabilities that make you more valuable. This shift requires you to celebrate the feeling of resistance rather than trying to eliminate it. When you feel that familiar discomfort that comes with challenging tasks, instead of thinking, "This sucks," start thinking, "This is exactly where I need to be." Resistance becomes your compass pointing toward growth. The stronger the resistance, the more important the action probably is for your development. When you master this mental shift, forcing yourself becomes unnecessary because you've rewired what feels good and what feels bad. Taking action toward your goals feels good because you associate it with growth and progress. Avoiding action feels bad because you associate it with stagnation and regret. Your brain's natural tendency to seek pleasure and avoid pain starts working in your favor instead of against you. But even with the right mindset, there's still the practical challenge of where to begin when your goal feels impossibly large and overwhelming. The minimum viable progress strategy. The solution is what researchers call microforcing, a strategy that exploits how your brain processes difficulty by starting with actions so small they bypass resistance entirely. Recent habit formation studies show that neural pathways strengthen significantly within the median time frame of 59 to 66 days, but only when you consistently repeat the behavior. The key insight is that tiny actions create these pathways faster than large ones, because your brain doesn't activate its threat detection system for minimal effort. When you commit to writing a book, your brain calculates the effort required for the entire project and feels overwhelmed. When you commit to writing one sentence, your brain barely registers the task as effort at all. But here's what happens after you write that one sentence. You're already sitting at your desk with your computer open and your thoughts flowing. Writing a second sentence requires almost no additional effort. Writing a paragraph feels natural. Before you know it, you've written for 20 minutes without even realizing it. This is the psychology behind why 2 minutes of action beats 2 hours of planning. Planning engages your analytical brain, which loves to identify problems, complications, and reasons why something might not work. Taking action, even tiny action, engages your momentum brain, which focuses on the next logical step rather than the entire journey. A 2025 study shows that people who spend 2 minutes taking action toward their goal are 3 times more likely to continue working than people who spend 2 hours planning their approach. The magic happens through what researchers call minimum viable progress. Tiny actions unlock bigger ones because they change your psychological state from thinking about doing something to actually doing it. When you do one push-up, you're no longer someone who needs to start exercising. You're someone who is exercising. That identity shift, however small, makes the second push-up easier than the first, the third easier than the second. Before you know it, you've completed a full workout that started with a single movement. Minimum viable progress works because it eliminates the massive psychological barrier between intention and action. The hardest part of any goal isn't doing the work. It's starting the work. Once you start, continuing becomes significantly easier because you've already overcome the initial resistance. Your brain shifts from generating excuses to generating momentum. The key is identifying the smallest possible version of any goal-related action. If your goal is to read more, the minimum viable action isn't reading for 30 minutes. It's opening a book. If your goal is to eat healthier, the minimum viable action isn't preparing an entire meal plan. It's eating one piece of fruit. If your goal is to network more, the minimum viable action isn't attending a networking event. It's sending one message to someone in your field. These actions might seem ridiculously small, but that's exactly why they work. Your brain can't generate reasonable excuses for doing something that takes less than 2 minutes and requires minimal effort. It's harder to talk yourself out of writing one sentence than to just write the sentence. It's easier to do one push-up than to spend 10 minutes convincing yourself you're too tired to exercise. Research on neuroplasticity shows that micro-commitments build neural pathways for larger behaviors. Every time you write one sentence, you strengthen the neural connections associated with writing. Every time you do one push-up, you reinforce the neural pathways connected to exercise. Every time you make one healthy food choice, you build the mental circuitry that supports healthy eating. These tiny actions literally rewire your brain to make bigger actions more automatic and less effortful. The compound effect of small actions is where the real magic happens. One sentence doesn't make you a writer, but one sentence every day for a year creates a book. One push-up doesn't make you fit, but one push-up that turns into 5, then 10, then a full workout routine transforms your body and health. One healthy meal doesn't change your life, but the habit of making slightly better food choices compounds into dramatic improvements over time. Most people resist thinking small because it feels insignificant. Your ego wants to make dramatic changes and see immediate results. Starting with tiny actions feels like you're not really trying or not taking your goals seriously. This mental resistance is actually your biggest enemy because it keeps you stuck in the planning phase instead of moving into the action phase. Thinking small is actually thinking smart because it works with human psychology instead of against it. Your brain is designed to resist big changes and embrace small ones. Big changes trigger fear and avoidance. Small changes feel safe and manageable. By starting smaller than your brain can reasonably object to, you bypass resistance entirely and create forward momentum that builds naturally. The beauty of minimum viable progress is that it's impossible to fail. You can't fail at writing one sentence. You can't fail at doing one push-up. You can't fail at eating one healthy snack. The bar is set so low that success is inevitable, and success breeds more success. Each small win builds confidence and creates positive momentum that carries over into bigger actions. What starts as one sentence becomes a paragraph, then a page, then a chapter. What starts as one push-up becomes 5, then 10, then a full workout routine. What starts as one healthy choice becomes a pattern of better decisions throughout the day. The tiny actions compound not just through repetition, but through the psychological momentum they create. 6 months from now, you'll look back and realize that the smallest actions created the biggest changes. Not because the actions themselves were significant, but because they started a process that grew naturally into something much larger. The person who writes one sentence every day for 6 months doesn't just have more words on paper. They've become a writer. The person who does one push-up that grows into a daily routine hasn't just gotten stronger. They've become someone who exercises consistently. The power lies not in the size of the action, but in the consistency of taking it. But consistency brings its own challenge because the moment you miss a day or fall short of your expectations, there's another voice that kicks in. The voice that can either push you forward or tear you down completely. Building your internal accountability system. That voice determines whether you become your own greatest coach or your harshest critic. You miss your workout 3 days in a row, your internal voice kicks in immediately. You're so lazy. You always start things and never finish them. Why can't you just stick to anything? You're never going to reach your goals at this rate. Sound familiar? This voice in your head that's supposed to help you stay accountable has become your biggest enemy. Instead of pushing you forward, it tears you down. Instead of building consistency, it destroys your confidence. Most people think being hard on themselves creates discipline, but research shows the opposite is true. Self-criticism is the fastest way to kill motivation and guarantee failure. Sports psychology reveals something counterintuitive about peak performance. Elite athletes don't succeed because they're harder on themselves than everyone else. When a professional tennis player misses a shot, they analyze what went wrong, adjust their technique, and focus on the next shot, rather than spending 5 minutes in self-attack mode. They succeed because they've learned to coach themselves instead of criticize themselves. They treat themselves like a coach would treat a valuable player, not like a critic would treat a failure. The difference between self-coaching and self-criticism changes everything about how you respond to setbacks and mistakes. Self-criticism focuses on what's wrong with you as a person. I'm lazy. I'm undisciplined. I'm not cut out for this. Self-coaching focuses on what can be improved in your approach. That didn't work. What can I learn from this? How can I adjust my strategy? The first approach destroys confidence and creates a negative spiral. The second approach builds resilience and creates forward momentum. Your internal dialogue affects your performance and goal achievement more than any external factor. The conversation happening in your head determines whether you bounce back from setbacks or get crushed by them. Whether you take action when things get difficult or make excuses and quit. Whether you see challenges as opportunities to grow or evidence that you should give up. Most people let this internal dialogue run on autopilot, which means it defaults to criticism and negativity. Successful people take control of this dialogue and turn it into their most powerful tool. This is where 2025 research on self-compassion reveals something that surprised even the scientists studying it. Self-compassion has a stronger impact on discipline and long-term goal achievement than self-criticism. People who treat themselves with kindness during failures are more likely to get back on track quickly and maintain consistency over time. This goes against everything most people believe about motivation and accountability. We think being tough on ourselves creates toughness. The research shows it creates brittleness. Self-compassion doesn't mean making excuses or lowering standards. It means responding to your mistakes the way you would respond to a good friend's mistakes, with understanding, support, and practical help instead of judgment and attack. When you miss a workout, instead of calling yourself lazy, you acknowledge that everyone misses workouts sometimes and focus on what you can do today to get back on track. This approach creates psychological safety that makes it easier to face challenges and take risks. Creating an internal coach voice requires specific techniques that replace destructive self-talk with constructive feedback. First, you separate your actions from who you are as a person. Instead of saying, I'm a failure because I didn't stick to my diet, you say, I made some food choices that didn't align with my goals, and I can make better choices starting now. This keeps mistakes in perspective and prevents them from becoming self-defeating stories about your character. The internal coach voice asks different questions than the internal critic voice. The critic asks, what's wrong with me? The coach asks, what can I learn from this? The critic says, I always mess things up. The coach says, this didn't work, so what will I try differently next time? The critic focuses on past failures. The coach focuses on future improvements. These small shifts in language create massive shifts in psychology. Future self-visualization research shows that people who regularly connect with their future selves are twice as likely to align their daily actions with their long-term goals. Instead of attacking yourself for current mistakes, you visualize the person you're becoming through consistent action. You see yourself 6 months from now having built the habits you're working on today. This technique transforms setbacks from character attacks into temporary detours on a clear path forward. Understanding the difference between productive guilt and destructive shame changes how you process setbacks completely. Productive guilt focuses on specific actions you can change. I feel bad about eating junk food for lunch, so I'm going to pack a healthy lunch tomorrow. Destructive shame attacks your entire character. I'm such a failure for eating junk food. I have no self-control, and I never will. Productive guilt motivates corrective action. Destructive shame creates paralysis and self-sabotage. Successful people use specific language patterns in their self-talk that unsuccessful people don't. They use words like yet and still learning and next time that assume improvement is possible. Instead of I can't do this, they say I can't do this yet. Instead of I'm bad at this, they say I'm still learning this. Instead of I failed again, they say next time I'll try a different approach. These language patterns create a growth mindset that sees challenges as temporary rather than permanent. Reframing failure as data rather than defeat requires a fundamental shift in how you define failure itself. Most people define failure as not achieving the desired outcome, but that definition makes learning impossible because it labels any mistake as evidence of inadequacy. A better definition treats failure as information about what doesn't work, which is just as valuable as information about what does work. Every failed attempt teaches you something that brings you closer to success. When you miss your workout, the data might tell you that evening workouts don't work well with your schedule and you should try morning workouts instead. When you break your diet, the data might tell you that restricting too many foods at once creates cravings, and you should focus on adding healthy foods before removing unhealthy ones. When you procrastinate on your business project, the data might tell you that the task feels overwhelming, and you should break it into smaller pieces. None of these situations represent personal failure. They represent useful information about what adjustments to make. This internal accountability system becomes your most powerful tool for maintaining consistency because it eliminates the psychological barriers that stop most people from bouncing back quickly from setbacks. When your internal voice supports you instead of attacking you, taking action feels safer. When mistakes become data instead of disasters, you're more willing to take risks and try new approaches. When setbacks build momentum instead of breaking it, consistency becomes automatic because you never really stop moving forward.